Hey, what is up everyone? Welcome back to another review, and today I'm taking a look at the robot Damashii ver anime Gundam Ariel from The Witch from Mercury. I will be comparing it to the high grade because I'm sure that's what you want to see, and I'll also mention in the exact same box from Hobby Link, I also got the Pop-Up Parade L-size guts. Now, I just have to say I wasn't going to make a video about this, but I have to just mention, this thing is absolutely awesome. It's pretty much 10 inches tall, 11 inches including the base. It's absolutely ridiculously cool. This thing looks so good. It costs what, like €60, $60? Berserk figures have always been pretty much prohibitively expensive. It has LED functionality, LED sold separately, and it looks like this. It's absolutely awesome. And this shopping spree was brought to you, well, by a sponsor. This video was sponsored by Raid Shadow Legends. Fun fact, there are 7.5 billion humans in the world that could be playing Raid Shadow Legends right now. So why waste time? Raid is available on both mobile and PC. Raid's got something extra special happening now. They've released a legendary champion based off of MMA and pro wrestling legend Ronda Rousey. As well as taking on dragons and ice golems with her bare fists, Ronda's backstory is pretty cool. Born to a minor Bannerlord house, Ronda trained hard alongside her 7 brothers to become a formidable warrior as they were expected to be. During one tournament run by her father, eventually she would make her way to the arena of Vilazar, kicking ass and taking names until she became queen of the arena. All of this while only fighting with her bare fists. You can get Ronda for free right now, and all you have to do is log in and play Raid for 7 days between now and February 28. That's all there is to it. So to celebrate Ronda's arrival in Raid, use the special promo code RAIDRONDA. And this month, Raid's got a huge new update with tons of features, including a brand new dungeon and the introduction of Artifact Ascension. Battle through the Sand Devil's Necropolis and earn the precious oil needed to take your artifacts to the next level. There are a bunch of new champions being added to the mix too, including some really cool holiday champions. Also, if you're an Amazon Prime member, you can get some exclusive rewards in Raid now. And new players, use my link or scan the QR code right now and get a free starter pack worth almost $30, a free champion, Vergies, and also this cool in-game loot. You will find your reward here in your inbox for the next 30 days only. So yeah, getting on to the review proper, today we're going to be taking a look at this right here. This is the Robot Spirits, or Robot Damashii ver anime, Gundam Ariel from the new Gundam series, The Witch from Mercury. This is the box right here. You open it up like so, and this is what comes inside. This comes with a lot of accessories and a couple of things that will make this a little bit better in general than the high-grade kit right here would be. Well, debatably. It's got some stands for actually holding on to the little fly-around Gundam bits. So yeah, basically what's going to be happening today is I'm going to be doing a full review of this particular figure right here. It is an action figure, and I will be comparing it to the high-grade version that we took a look at a couple of weeks ago. Now this is an absolutely mind-blowing high-grade, so it costs, the high-grade, about $11 or so. That's how much it is from Hobby Link Japan, and the Robot Damashii ver anime is more around the 53 or so. I'll throw the prices up on the screen so you can actually check. So it's 5 times the price, but it is as well, is it 5 times the good? That will be entirely up to you to decide for yourself. The first, well, aspect right here is, do you like building your mecha? If you do, well then it's hands down gonna be the high grade, isn't it? Do you not like it and you like action figures you can pose all over the place? Then probably the Robot Spirits right here. But first, let's jump right on into the aesthetics and get this Robot Damashii spinning. So jumping into the aesthetics of the Robot Damashii ver anime Ariel right here, and this is the full 360 spin. This, I have to say, is a very clean looking figure. This actually instantly brings me back to the original images we would have seen of the promotional posters and whatnot for The Witch from Mercury. They're very pastel, very almost blown out looking with the amount of white, and the clean whites on this really do harken me right back to that. This is extremely nice. The colors do look great. Like I mentioned, super clean looking, and we do have nice reflecty parts on all of the shell unit areas and all of the stuff that goes crazy red when this thing gets busy. Proportion-wise, everything looks very nice. The first thing you'd probably notice about this is it does have a very long neck compared to what we would have seen before. This is one of those things that is debatably accurate, because sometimes Ariel does look like it has a bit of an elongated neck, sometimes it doesn't, but the detail inside of that neck does look great, and the detail everywhere. Color accuracy wise, this is definitely kicking arse. Now let's get it compared to the high grade. So then they are just thrown side by side. I didn't really even adjust the poses or anything like that. This is the Robot Damashii right here, this is the high grade right here, and the high grade does look a little bit thicker and beefier than this offering right here, which looks a little bit slender in some aspects. To me, the most instant standout feature between the two is the shell units and the various little black segments right here on the Robot Spirits. We don't have any kind of like nice shell unit goings on. I think there's something in there, but you can't really get that to reflect. what we've got in the high grade is absolutely mesmerizing. Looks so good even up on the head. You can see some of the detail shining about in there, and the same on the legs. So, you know, there is that aspect. That is a choice with the high grade, and you can have it in black or those colors. So that is a little bit of a letdown. Another thing that I personally prefer about the high grade right here is the perception of depth. For example, in the chest there, we've got those things that look, well, kind of like eyes in a face. They're really deep set, they're nice and red, and they just look so dynamic. But when we flip right on over right here to the robot Damashii, this is very, very well surfaced. There's no depth, there's no nice kind of like layeredness to the armor, and these eye segments are in a silver. It is a reflective silver, but it doesn't catch the light as nicely. However, speaking of silver, we do have silver in the head Vulcans up there, those little cannons either side of the head, so that is very nice. The face is also very nicely sculpted too, and there is the face in the high grade. Now, I will mention I did put some effort into this high grade. It will not come out of the box looking like this. I did multitude of things, which really are just a bunch of almost beginner steps. Basically, I built the kit, I made sure to clean it up nicely, I panel lined it using Bandai's panel lining markers, which of course will cost extra if you have to buy those with the kit. Then I did top coat it, which is adding some more cost to this because a can of, well, depending on where you are, a can of top coat will put you back $5, $10, maybe $15. This is a matte top coat, and before I top coated it, I did use some water slide decals as well, which I got from some real grade water slide decal sheets, which once again will add more cost. So this isn't exactly what it looks like out of box. I'll throw up, this is what it looks like out of box. So keep that in mind during the comparison. But yeah, one thing always blows my mind when it comes to Bandai Spirits being the model kit making guys and Bandai Tamashii Nations, the figure making guys, they don't always seem to share ideas or even, well, perception or concepts when it comes to the design. Like there's some elements of the design of Gundam Aerial here that have been, well, completely filtered through different people in a different kind of way. They're very subtle, yet there are some differences between the units. For example, well, we've got some lines on the feet you will not see on the robot Damashii, which are on the armor of the high grade. There are some straight up lines like you're seeing here on the armor of the high grade 2, which would not be on the surface armor of the robot Damashii. Like I mentioned, the eyes recessed into the chest. The robot Damashii went with silver, the high grade went with a nice red sticker, and even some elements like if you look at the head from the side, it's got a completely different shape. It's almost longer, a little bit thicker out to the back on the robot Damashii, and same with the torso and the backpack, a little bit bulkier out towards the back and front than side to side. So there's a lot of differences, even amongst the different panel lines or etchings in the armor. So anyway, there's the full 360 spin of both of these side by side completely. Well, everything's the same, lens is the same, focal length is the same, lighting is the same, so you can compare them for yourself to decide which one you prefer. Once again, on the left is the robot Damashii, on the right is the high grade. The high grade costs $10-ish, maybe 11 or 12, and the robot Damashii costs about 5 times that at the $54 or $55 mark. So once again, you have to build one, don't build the other. I did put some effort into the one on the right there being the high grade, so that is with a little bit more effort pumped in there. But yeah, this is for your own consideration to check them out side by side and decide which one you like the look of better. Now let's check out what comes inside of the box and compare that to. So now jumping into the accessories, and here's absolutely everything that comes inside the box. Now first off, here is what came with the high grade. This is what comes with the robot Damashii, which is the equivalent of what comes in the high grade, and now this is what comes in the robot Damashii in total. So as you can see, it comes with a whole lot more, and that isn't even including this massive wild wacky action bike of a rig you can stick round back, which is both good and a little bit bad at the same time, and I'll mention why. But first, let's compare what the high grade has, the robot Damashii has, the things that are the same between the two. Let's go. Also, this thing right here, this simple little thing right here, this is an extra V-fin. There's an extra V-fin in here for using with this kit. Bandai's Gunpla needs to do that. It's not going to break the bank, but by God, those things will break. So spare, always, always nice. So jumping right into the weapons, and the first weapon we have in here is the melee weapon. This is the beam saber that we get with the robot Damashii. Now, there, for comparison's sake, is the one that came with the high grade. So it is a little bit longer, a little bit, well, richer in the blue department, but otherwise quite similar. There's comparison of the handles, and once again similar, just a little bit different in size. Robot Damashii on the left. So the robot Damashii right here is definitely the champ in one department, and that is when it comes to the hands. So we have a whole ton of hands included with the robot Damashii. That is 8, not including the 2 on there, so we've got a grand total of 10. So that is the fists that we have up on the robot Damashii already, and we've got 2 types of widespread open ones, as you can see there. We've got 2 types of holding, which is for long-range weapons with a trigger finger, and melee weapons with no trigger finger, and that's exactly what we'll need right here. With the high-grade model kit, we only had the 1 set of standard holding hands to do absolutely everything, which was technically my biggest complaint with the kit, so yeah, robot Damashii winning right here. So let's try swapping out the hands on the robot Damashii. These are ball joints, so let's see how easy they are. This is my first time taking one off, and simple enough getting it off, but the difficulty sometimes is getting it back on again. These hand racks right here are the absolute best. See these little parts up here and parts down here? That means you can link a whole bunch of them together in a kind of like grid of hands up that way and that way if you have a whole ton of these. Actually, I absolutely adore the Robot Damashii Ver Anime line. I mean, I love this line. I've tried a couple, not nearly enough, and I love it to bits. If you've never tried a Ver Anime, get one. Way better than the old style Robot Damashiis. Alright, the ultimate test of getting the hand back on. Is it difficult or not? A little bit, actually. A lot of it. Come on, come on, come on. There we go. That might loosen up after a little while, but tight it first. So winding back to the high-grade Gundam aerial review, and this is what it looked like when I threw it into a little bit of a pose with the beam sabers. I had a good time posing it, it looked really good, and it worked out well. So we're going to try the exact same thing with this one right here. Popping these beam sabers into the hand is super simply just slide them on in like so, and there we go. There is pretty much the exact same pose. The one thing I'll notice is because these are a little bit clearer in the blade, they don't stand out as much I find, but besides that, posability wise so far beautiful, and this works out great. Just the same as before, if you want to store these when they're not in use, just pop out the beam, throw them onto the mounts around back on the backpack like so, but I will mention with this kit they do actually rotate forward and back, which is a very, very nice touch we don't have with the high grade. So next up in here we've got the beam rifle. For the most part this is quite plain, it's all in grey, a big wide open hole in the front. We've got the sight there in a lighter shade of grey. The hole goes all the way through on this, and there's that little bit of a quick comparison. It's the high grade down bottom, the Robot Damashii up top. Once again I did top coat and line the rifle of the high grade, but otherwise they're quite similar. This is actually blocked off with this big old clumpy end, whereas this is more wide open, which I feel might be a little bit more accurate to the source material. These weapons also come with effects to be used as a melee weapon, so this is what comes with the Robot Damashii. There it is attached. Once again, this is very clear in comparison to what we would have seen with the high grade, and well, it's a whole lot longer too. With the high grade, you can see what it has, that little bit of a clumpy, stumpy interior. That's to slide this on over, and that is what the high grade version looks like. A little bit more vigorous with the effects. It is a little bit shorter. And there's a quick example of them both side by side. So definitely more length, but less color in the Robot Damashii. So when it comes to attaching this on, this kit does have hands for both the left and right hand side, so it can hold it either hand, whichever one that you want. I'm going to go with the right hand because it is just simpler and probably show accurate. I'm not sure, but it's what I did the last time. Anyway, getting this into the hand can be a little bit on the awkward side because you have to kind of wrap it in around to get it into the fingers just right, but once you do, it holds on perfectly. And this is taking a step back to the high grade once again to see what that looked like when it was holding onto its rifle. That's the high grade. This right here is the Robot Damashii doing pretty much the same thing. So once again, it does look phenomenal. This is very nice. It looks like it might be a little bit more of an accurate rifle with that big open hole in the end. Pop in the effects so you can see what that looks like. And this thing is massive, awesome, and pretty damn cool looking. Also for this pose, I did use an alternate hand on the left-hand side just to check them out. So the widespread hands we have in here, we have 2 different types. One type is widespread dynamic. The other one there on the right-hand side is more of a relaxed open hand for just standing poses, etc. So I went with the widespread open one, and once again it attaches on like so, but I will mention it does look a little bit on the awkward side. It's got this very large kind of palm to it, which may happen to be show accurate, but I thought I would point it out. So next up then in here we've got the shield made out of all of those pieces. So this looks extremely nice. The back is a little bit plain and full of hollow parts, however. Anyway, there it is compared to the high grade variant. The high grade variant is quite similar in a lot of aspects really, except when you actually flip it around. Like so, the high grade I would say looks debatably better with that little grey attachment in there. I will mention this doesn't actually come apart into a bunch of full pieces. Like a lot of people were a little sad that this right here, the high grade, has a bit of a adapter holding it together. So does this. Do not be fooled. It's just the parts when separated are actually, some of them are, well, different parts to what's on the actual shield. However, we do have some nice detail on the thrusters up there and these black segments up here. Unlike the high grade, we actually do have a handle in here so it can be held in the hand as well as attached onto the forearm. And it just attaches on a little something like... Yeah, that's not going to happen with that hand. You're going to have to use the holding hand. This one gets in the way. Woo, holy shit, that's interesting. So yeah, you're able to bend the arm at 2 different elbow points. That is unique. So you've got a nice bit of articulation here as well as the usual elbow. That is a double elbow. That is cool. So anyway, once you do get it attached, that is exactly what it looks like. And flashing back a little bit to the high grade, this is what the high grade looked like in a pose with its shield. Here is what the robot Damashii looks like in a pretty similar pose with the shield as well. So both are quite nice looking. This has some nice extra details on the outside, but does look a little bit plain on the inside. So we can do the thing that we did before with the high grade, which is make all of those gunned bits. So you can just disassemble this up into all of its parts. And like I mentioned, we did need an adapter with the high grade, and that isn't necessarily all that different here because the central aspect is essentially an adapter of sorts. When we're actually using these as gunned bits, you do need to use these 3 parts instead of that central aspect. So in a way, they didn't really make it work in the anime kind of disassembly kind of way this time around either. And when I said 3 bits, I meant 4 bits because I forgot one of them. I left it over there. So these 4 bits are this bit, when they're the bits that you're using as actual gun bits. So once you have these all separated into the bits, no longer being the shield anymore, that means you can replicate the bit-on form, which is attaching all of these all over the body of the Gundam aerial. Now, once again, this is essentially the same as the high grade. These can pop on all over the body. We've got some side skirts, some shoulders, the whole rig that attaches onto the back of the skirting armor, or should I say just the back armor, because there's no skirting armor. This becomes the skirting armor. And we've got some for on the backs of the arms as well. Now, I will mention a lot of these do have a ball joint peg attachment compared to what we would have seen with the high grade. So it does mean there is more actually maneuverability of these on the body once they're attached, which is pretty awesome. Also, when it comes to the adapters that are in here, I totally forgot to mention while we're taking a look at the rifle, we've got one that attaches into that big hole slot in the rifle, and that's so you can attach it onto the backpack, just like so. But back to that bit-on form. This right here is what the high-grade Gundam area looked like in its bit-on form, and here's the comparison. This is the robot Damashii for anime Gundam aerial, also in its bit-on form. When you're attaching all the bits that were the shield onto the Gundam as the bit-on form, you can do the exact same thing to the beam rifle. Now, unlike the high grade, you can't just attach these right onto the rifle. This does require an adapter. So this little adapter attaches one of the gray bits on top, one on bottom, and then you can slide it down into the barrel of the rifle, and this is what it looks like completed. And once again, there it is in a little bit of a pose, looking absolutely fantastic. So now moving on to the last of the accessories in here, and this is something that seriously separates this kit from the high grade, and that is this big old crazy rack right here. This is simple to assemble. We've got 6 little slots in it, 6 long arm stands, and then 6 triangles for up on top. You don't have to use all 6, you can use as little or as many as you want while doing this, and these are for showing the gun bits in flight. This attaches into the back of Ariel super simply. We've just got a peg right here that attaches into the hole in Ariel's backpack, just like this. And I will mention there is no actual stand inside this box, which is very sad. We do get a little bit of adapter for using with stands, and if you're looking for a stand for using with this, I always recommend Good Smile Company's Simple Stand. You get 3 of these stands for around $12 or so. That is an absolute steal. 3 of them. I recommend these, and if you can get your hands on them, get a whole bunch. They'll do you for Gunpla, figures, everything. They are fantastic. But yeah, that's what I'm going to be popping Ariel on for this. Now let's get these things attached. So yeah, these things right here, these comprise of a bunch of holes, so you can attach them in whichever way you want. So you just attach them via their pegs on like this. So I'm just going to somewhat copy what I can see on the box. To be honest, it is only using just 4 of these, but I'm just going to be copying it with, well, using all 6 just to see how it ends up working out. And there we go, there's all those Gund bits in action. So I decided in the end to use only 4 of the arms, basically copy what was on the back of the box, and this works out so well. This looks so good. This is something the high grade will never be doing, and literally I mean never be doing, because you might be curious whether or not the high grade parts can attach into this, and the answer is no, because the pegs on the particular gun bits in here, these are a little bit narrower. Of course, you could widen them. You could actually widen them to 3mm a piece and actually use this whole rig with the high grade if you wanted to. So that is an option as well, but this just looks so good, works out well, and I think it's time for the articulation. So anyway, finally onto the articulation, and when it comes to the strength of the actual figure itself, it's quite good. I do find occasionally when moving it around, it might kind of flop in the ankles a little bit. They're very delicate, but it will, well, I guess there's just so many moving parts that sometimes it kind of just moves somewhere you don't want it to, but besides that, it is quite strong. We'll mention compared to the high grade, we do have a little bit of a wiggle right here, which is nice. It doesn't rotate that much, but it's still very good. So throwing this into the usual pose that I use to test out the posability of something, this thing is awesome. It feels so good in the hand. This is both fluid and has massive ranges of motion pretty much everywhere. This can do so much and it feels really nice. I guess the only real limited feeling aspect is the ab crunch and maybe raising the arms up towards the head. I did yank the arm off while trying that to see how high I could get it, but the shoulder armor does get in the way ever so slightly. But besides that, this thing is fantastic. Actually, grabbing the high grade right now too to give that a little bit of a test too. That is also a nice kit, but you have to be a lot more delicate with it. The ankles can pop really easy because there are C-clips. This doesn't have much in the ab crunch either, and the raising the arms up is a little bit better, but it's the only thing it definitely has over the Robot Damashii. The Robot Damashii is most definitely a better poser. Not by a massive margin, but, well, by a fairly damn big margin. It's got a way better knee bend and elbow bend from what I'm feeling here. So yeah, let's check out a little bit more. It's amazing the kind of little differences you notice when you're actually taking a look at them. So that is the little pipe in the leg of the high grade right here. And then the pipe in the leg of the Robot Damashii is that little bit nicer too. Also, we do have the gray in the bottom of the feet, unlike the high grade right here. And the vents do look, well, they look great in both actually. But for me, the standout features right here are definitely the fact that we've got that extra little bend in the arm right here, which is very non-human. So you're able to bend the arm in interesting ways, which adds a lot more kind of interesting dynamics to the bending of the arms. The knee bend is incredible too. It bends at multiple points, even, yeah, 2 points at the knee right there. And like I mentioned, the upper leg does have that little bit of a swivel that just adds a little bit more to it. So that is nice. Of course, this being an action figure too means it is a lot more reliable in a lot of poses than a high grade or a model kit ever could be. Let's test out some interesting poses. So anyway, while I'm throwing it into a few poses there in the background, I guess that is it for the review. I have to admit, I am super impressed by this figure right here. I've only got one little bit of a thing that kind of disappoints me a little bit, and that is there is no choice to have the shell units glowing, like just lighting up with that cool red effect, that shiny holographic effect that we did have the choice to have with the high grade. Besides that though, this thing pretty much slays absolutely every aspect. Sure, this may not look as good as a fully detailed up high grade, but that still isn't a very fair comparison considering that compared to the bare high grade, this would definitely look a lot better. This really does look absolutely fantastic just out of the box, and if you just like your plug and play unbox and play around with sort of figure, then this is exactly what you want. If you love to build, then of course it's always going to be the model kit hands down. The accessories inside this box are fairly awesome. For the most part, they tick all the boxes. They outdo the high grade in a lot of different ways, and I would say not as good in other aspects, but I'd say the only real aspects that aren't as good is the effects in here. I do prefer the effects with the high grade. But besides that, that awesome little aspect, or should I say big ol' aspect, which is the bunch of effect parts for around back for holding all the gunned bits, that is downright impressive. It looks very nice. Again, another little bit of a down point would be the fact that there was no stand to hold this up in the air when that is all up there. But yeah, when it comes to the articulation then, this completely kills it. This is so much fun to pose, it's nice, it's fluid, and you'll get pretty much any pose out of it. This is an absolutely awesome figure. So when it comes down to it, when you've got your high grade that is around the $10 or $11 mark, this one it's 5 times the price at $55 or so. Well, the only one who can really make that decision which is better is you. So drop it in the comments, which was better. Anyways, always thank you so much for watching. Make sure to come back for more. Gundam and Gunpla and all of that stuff reviews, and I will see you next time. As always, this video and every video would not be possible without each and every one of you guys who watches my videos. And special thanks to those of you who are supporting me over on Patreon and on the channel members, including Caleb Engelhart, Global Frequency Studios, Go Little Rockstar, Gunpla UK Limited, Joe, Kill Me Inc., Lawrence Seahack, RG59061, and Van Fawn.